going on, everybody? This is Mike Hughes, and you are listening to the Shy Kid Podcast. Let me make sure the mic and everything is set up. What a horrible start to the pod. I hope you guys can hear me right now. I really do, because if you guys can't hear me and the mic is acting up, I am going to be a different level of upset. Right now, it's yellow, so I don't know why. Why every time I do a late night episode, it just doesn't work out. But it is what it is. It is what it is. Let's take about 2 seconds. We'll find out right now um, if we're even able to hear ourselves. But give me 2 seconds. Give me 2 seconds. Because that would be very... Hold on, hold on. I don't know if I can... Yeah, this is frustrating. I think I'm good. I think I'm good, bro. I don't know. Maybe I am. Maybe I'm not. Honestly, it doesn't even matter at this point. We're just hanging out for the vibe. But man, we got a lot to talk about. Obviously, there's been a lot of rumors and speculation over the last week about what's going on with the Chicago Cubs organization, and I don't know what to believe. We have GM meetings going on right now in the Cubs organ, and we kind of heard a little bit of rumors about potentially a guy like Owen Casey being available sometime this winter for guys like a Vladimir Guerrero Jr., which is crazy, to even breathe that, especially, after the season he was able to have with the Toronto Blue Jays this year. You're looking at a guy with an over 5 WAR, a 323 batting average, if I'm not mistaken, 30 home runs, over 100 RBIs, I believe it was 103. This is a guy who is not only a franchise player, but an MVP caliber level talent. So I do truly apologize for the slow start to this episode, but definitely wanted to make sure we got all of our ducks in order before we just, go live and go crazy. But with that being said, man, let's really break down and unpack what we see so far from the Chicago Cubs, what we think the organization can do moving forward to really just make a move, because I think it's going to be very important to do so. I think, just sitting on your hands all off season is very frustrating for not only the fan base, but more importantly, just the players in the locker room. This is a team that's kind of ran it back a few times. I definitely do think there's room for conversation about being patient with Jed Hoyer. I know a lot of people just want to see Jed gone, and I hear you. I understand the frustration, and I understand where everybody's coming from. I just don't realistically think it makes the most sense right now. Jed's done an amazing job. Jed has turned this farm system to one of the lower end pieces, maybe from 20th to 25th ranked farm system to a top 3 farm system, and they're not 3 and they're not 2, brother. I truly do believe that this farm system has the intangibles to be one of the best, if not the best, in all of baseball. So I'm right here with them. I'm right here with the Chicago Cubs organization and really just believing in what they're doing right now. But however, at some point you have to start contending. At some point you have to have that real conversation. Hey, look, I understand, the future is bright, but what are we doing right here, right now? This is a what have you done for me lately league. What have you done for me lately? Back-to-back years without the playoffs. We have not been to the playoffs since, 2020? It's really where I'm at. That's where I'm at. We got to get back. I mean, I saw the Arizona Diamondbacks in the World Series before the Cubs made the playoffs. That shouldn't happen, brother. That should not happen. You know what I mean? Like, we're seeing teams who are such a smaller market, such a smaller organization, with a lot less talent, end up making the playoffs over the Chicago Cubs. And that's just point blank period what it is. You know what I mean? Like, there were moments in the season where we're fighting with the Marlins for a wild card spot. Like, those aren't conversations we should even be having. So when you hear these rumors about the Cubs potentially being in on Vladimir Guerrero Jr., you just have to smile. You have to smile, and you have to think Jed's cooking up something. I don't know what that may be. I don't know what could potentially happen this offseason to get us back to the playoffs, and not only back to the playoffs, but in serious contention for a World Series for years to come. But I definitely do believe it does start with players like Owen Casey. Here's the thing. I love Owen Casey. Owen Casey is an absolute animal. Owen Casey is a stud in the making. This is a guy who, born in 2002, is still waiting to make his debut, drafted in the second round, 45th pick overall by the San Diego Padres. I believe we acquired him in the Yu Darvish deal A couple other infielders as well that kind of haven't, turned out to be anything quite yet. But Owen is the best of the bunch. So, you look at what he was able to do in AAA this year with the Chicago Cubs. He had 69 runs off 131 hits, 19 home runs, 75 RBIs, 11 stolen bases, great defense in the outfield, 278 batting average, a 375 OBP, and an 847 OPS. Now that's in 472 at bats. The kid was an absolute animal. He is a contact machine. I mean, this guy is getting on base any way, anyhow you need him to. He's going to do it. So here's my big thing right now. As I look at a guy like Owen Casey, why are you trading away one of the top prospects of the Chicago Cubs organization? It's pretty simple. You have to look at the prospect on the roster already. And I think that's where you're going to start to have some problems. Let's break down the Chicago Cubs outfield in general from Des Moines, Iowa to the friendly confines on Addison. I think the thing for me is understanding your personnel, understanding who's in the room with you. You have to look at the corners first. You're going to look at Ian Happ and Seiya Suzuki. They're both going to be on this team for the next few years with no trade clauses. There's nothing we can do about it. Unless they want to leave Chicago that bad, there's no chance in hell they can get moved. Cody Bellinger opts in on his 1 year, $27.5 million deal. That's 3 outfielders right there. Pete Crow Armstrong, going into his first full season with the Chicago Cubs, over 20 stolen bases, batting over 300 in the second half of the year in his last 60 games. He really did have a coming out party. And with Gold Glove defense in center field every single day, I don't see that changing. You got other guys, too, as well. We're looking at a guy like Brennan Davis, who, if he could stay healthy, the sky is the limit. This was a former #1 prospect in the Cubs system. And the only thing that's keeping him down is really just health at this point. He is MLB ready. After that, you have guys like Kevin Alcantara. You have guys like Owen Casey. You have guys like Alexander Canario. The list goes on of outfielders in this system. You're looking at right now, Owen Casey and Kevin are already in the top 10 farm system of outfielders. And then after that, you got guys like Alexander Canario, like I mentioned earlier, Pete Crow Armstrong, if you want to count him as well. So you have a lot of outfielders, and it kind of reminds me a lot of the Eloy Jimenez situation in 2017, because you like Eloy. I think Eloy was a great talent, but when you already have Jason Hayward, Ian Happ, who else did we have out there? We had all these outfielders, Kyle Schwarber, even if you go back to 2016, Dexter Fowler, Jorge Soler, the list goes on of just all these outfielders that we have. So you have to move a few of them. So yeah, it definitely does come down to that at the end of the day. You even had a guy like Ben Zobrist out there. So you have to trade Eloy, and you don't want to. And Eloy ends up having a pretty solid career with the White Sox org after that. But it's definitely one of those things where you just can't keep everybody. You just can't keep everybody. And here's the big thing. If you're trading them away for a nobody, that's one thing. If the Chicago Cubs can potentially trade Owen Casey and maybe a mid-tier level arm in the farm system for Vladimir Guerrero Jr., the Chicago Cubs are going to the playoffs in 2025. I don't care about the situation with Michael Busch. Well, Michael Busch is great. He was great for the Cubs in 2024. He was. It was his first real rookie season, over 20 home runs, solid defense at first. That's awesome. Michael Busch is not a superstar. You know what I mean? And that's what it comes down to at the end of the day. When is the last time the Chicago Cubs truly had a superstar? I would go back to Javi Baez's MVP caliber season in 2018. I think that's really the last time the Cubs had somebody of that magnitude. You could make an argument, Cody Bellinger in 2023, batting over 300, Gold Glove defense, first base, center field. That's cool. You know what I mean? But like when we talk about like one of the best players in the game, we're talking about guys who are up there with the names of Shohei Ohtani, Mookie Betts, Freddie Freeman. I just named 3 Dodgers. That's the problem. That is the problem. It's not that Michael Busch isn't great at what he does. The problem is when you're facing off against Freddie Freeman, Mookie Betts, and Shohei Ohtani, and we look on our side of things, and it's Ian Happ, Michael Busch, and Pete Crow Armstrong, it's just not enough. It's just not enough. It really isn't, especially when you look at the pitching arsenals as well. So yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know. Someone said, I don't think this is live. Steven, This is live. This is a live video right now. I'm just also reading the comments while we're live, but this is we are live. You don't worry about it, brother. It's all good. I don't even know. I don't even know how this wouldn't be live. Like I don't even think you can do that. Maybe you can. I have no idea. Um, but I appreciate you being here, man. I appreciate you being here. Yeah, and Shawnee, I want to clarify that Michael Bush is great at what he does. Michael Bush is not a great player. Michael Bush is a good player. And, there's a difference, but he's great at what we ask him to do. I think that's the difference. That's where people get are really very confused. He's great at what he does. He's great at what he does. He shows up every single day. I never worry about him being in the lineup. Um, yeah, no. Yeah, no. I never worry about Michael Bush, but that's really where I'm at right now, and I appreciate you guys engaging. I appreciate you guys being here. My bad if I wasn't reading the chat for a little bit. We're also live on Give Us a Shot Network on YouTube, so I'm trying to like read both at the same time. But I appreciate you guys being here. I appreciate you guys tuning in. You know, Steven says Vladimir Jr. is not worth it. I think he is. I think he is, and I think he is for a multitude of reasons. But the number one reason why I feel like you might feel that way, and it's nothing personal about you. Let's not say you. Let's say why a lot of fans might feel that way. I think is because we don't get to see him a lot. Even myself, I don't get to see Vladimir Guerrero Jr. play a lot. And it's because he's stuck in Toronto. Like, who's really turning on a Toronto Blue Jays game just for the hell of it? You know what I mean? I used to a lot for guys like Bo Bichette. I used to love watching Bo come up through the farm system and really just, tear it up his first couple years in the league. But I feel like guys like Vladdy just get completely ignored, and his greatness is just not seen because they're not a playoff team. You know what I mean? Steven says Alonso is better. I'm with you. Here's my thing. One, the batting average and the OPS and the WAR doesn't indicate that he's better. And two, I just don't want to mess with a Scott Boras client. I really don't. And I think that's one of my biggest things right now is I'm really just avoiding anybody who's the agent of Scott Boras. But unfortunately, some of the best players in the league, are all under contract with Scott Boras. Here's the part that kicks me. 52 writers at MLB.com were asked who they think is going to be the most in on every single free agent this year. That includes Corbin Burnes, Juan Soto, Teoscar Hernandez, Blake Snell, Pete Alonso. The list goes on. You get what I'm saying, right? For me, what hurt the most was they would rank the top 5 teams and their percentage of getting that player. So like for Juan Soto, I believe the teams were, this is in no order, by the way, the New York Yankees, the New York Mets, the Los Angeles Dodgers, the San Diego Padres, and then it was the Washington Nationals. And I was like, what? Why would he go back? You know what I mean? But to not see the Cubs on that list, to not see the Cubs even taking calls for a guy like Juan Soto, it hurts. It hurts you, because this is a prestigious organization. This is the friendly confines. We are Chicago baseball. We are Chicago sports. And when you're such a big market and year in and year out, I have to convince myself, yeah, we didn't get Aaron Judge, but we got Dansby Swanson. Yeah, we didn't get Shohei Ohtani, but we brought back Cody Bellinger on a one-year deal. It's frustrating. It's frustrating because some of the greatest players of all time are currently playing in Major League Baseball, and none of them are on the Cubs, and I don't mean that like as an overstatement. Like, some of the greatest players to ever walk on the diamond are currently in the league, and the Cubs never even really took a serious call. Like, we weren't really in on Shohei Ohtani. Let's be so real with ourselves. We weren't going after Yamamoto, and shout out to Jed because he did get Shota Imanaga on a 4-year, $53-something million deal. Absolute steal. But if we're being completely honest, the Cubs not even making an offer for a guy like Soto, it's a fireable offense on a multitude of levels, from ownership to the front office. And I think when we really break down and have those conversations throughout the year about why this team fell short of making the playoffs, I think it goes back to how active, or more so how inactive, we are in free agency. Like, we should be in on every top player every single year. Point blank, period. Like, there's no other way around it. You know what I mean? Um, and I see a lot of people saying we just need pitching. I agree. We definitely do. I think there's a lot of guys in the farm system that are very good. I think Cade Horton, Brandon Birdsell, um, Ben Brown. I think Caleb Killian was making a case during spring training that he could still be a very huge part of this team. If he doesn't go down with an injury, what does that look like? You know what I mean? I think there's a lot of levels. There's two guys. Let me sit up a little bit because I know. Um, there's two guys for me I want to see the Cubs go after in free agency to kind of address the pitching woes. First of all, I think the one that's going to kind of get everybody, no pun intended, in left field. Coming out of left field, I think is Max Fried. And he was actually the only guy out of the 52 MLB.com writers to be a part of the Cubs watch list or target list. The Cubs weren't in on anybody else according to these MLB.com writers, but they were in on Max Fried. I believe they had the second highest odds at getting him. The Dodgers were number one. So if the Cubs can get a guy like Max Fried, I'm really excited about it. Now, you do have three lefties in the starting rotation, but I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing, especially when you look at the numbers and the splits. In the National League Central, not a lot of teams hit well against lefties. That's really the main focal point. And when you have guys like Paul Goldschmidt leaving the St. Louis Cardinals, presumably, you're really in a good situation. So I think for me, Max Fried, 2024, 3.5 WAR, 11 wins, 10 losses, 3.25 ERA in 29 games. He started in all 29 of them, 174 innings pitched with 166 strikeouts and a 1.164 WHIP. The big thing about Fried, especially at the age of 30, is how available is he going to be? Because the best ability is availability. Now, this is a guy who year in and year out is pretty much sitting at a 2.50 plus ERA. He's very consistent. So this year was kind of a down year, from a numbers standpoint. But Max Fried is still that guy. And the playoffs didn't go that well either. But I think two guys I would love to see the Cubs add to their arsenal is Max Fried and Jack Flaherty. And I think if you can snag up both of them from the Los Angeles Dodgers, you're putting yourself in a great position to not only just be a spoiler, but to remain in contention. You got to make sure these guys aren't getting everybody because they already got everybody. But, the more the merrier. Like, no, F that. We have to do something now to put ourselves in position to play catch up because that's what we're doing. We're playing catch up with the Dodgers right now. So you have three lefties in a central division that doesn't hit well against lefties, especially with the absence of Paul Goldschmidt in St. Louis. That's great for the Cubs. You have Shota Imanaga, Max Fried, and Justin Steele. After that, we obviously know Kyle Hendricks just signed with the Los Angeles Angels. Whew, that one hurt. But we wish Kyle nothing but the best. But you have Jameson Taillon. And then I think when you have guys like Ben Brown and Cade Horton in AAA kind of just waiting for their opportunity, I think it's good to take a chance on a guy like Jack Flaherty. He's an absolute flamethrower. We don't have a lot of guys, especially in the starting rotation, that throw absolute gas. No changeup, no curveball, just absolute smoke. A Jack Flaherty is that guy. Jack Flaherty in 2024, not only a World Series champion and one of the biggest partiers I've ever seen because that guy was having a blast during the parade. 2024, 3.1 WAR, 13 wins, 7 losses, 3.17 ERA, 28 games pitched, 28 games started, 162 innings pitched, 194 Ks with a 1.068 WHIP. So that's a guy that I want to be a part of this organization. This is a guy that I believe at 29 years old still has some of his best baseball in front of him. I'm really excited about that. I think Jack Flaherty could be huge. And Steven said, and hey, listen, he's a friend of the show. He's a great individual, great human being. I was just talking to him a month ago. Ben Brown, absolute amazing human being, absolute amazing work ethic, and he throws gas. Like, that's just what it is. But is he ready for the moment, and can Ben stay healthy? Ben isn't healthy. Boom, you take him out. You got a lot of questions now. Now you're rushing Cade Horton to not only get healthy as well, but rush him in his development. So you have a guy like Jack inserted into this lineup. And I think it changes a lot of things. It gives you a lot of wiggle room. If you ever want to throw, hey man, Jack, we love you. We're going to throw you in the bullpen. We're going to give Ben Brown an opportunity. Okay, cool. Whatever. You know what I mean? Or Ben, hey, you want to come out the bullpen? Different conversation. Now, we're not suggesting that whatsoever, but it's definitely something I think we don't talk about enough. That, having guys who are able to do a multitude of things is insanely beneficial going down the stretch. Walker Buehler is the closer for the Dodgers the day they win the World Series. Walker Buehler damn near got DFA'd in the middle of the season because he couldn't. I mean, man, that man couldn't locate nothing if he had a GPS tracker on him. So yeah, I'm with it. Steven also said, what about Blake Snell? Blake Snell's an interesting one. I think he could definitely be on the Cubs' radar. I don't see it being an issue for the foreseeable future. But I think we're about 2 years late. I think we're about 2 years late on Snell. Snellzilla is an absolute dog, and do I want him on the Cubs roster? Of course. What I would do for a Blake Snell Cubs jersey, oh my goodness. That's a Cy Young winner in both the National and the American League, ladies and gentlemen. He's an absolute animal. But yeah, by the way, we have one viewer on Facebook right now, so leave a comment. Who is this? Who's leaving comments right now? Or who's watching the live right now? But I do appreciate everybody tuning in. Appreciate everybody being here right now, man. We have so much to talk about. Hopefully we'll have Lance Brozdowski of Foul Territory and the Marquee Sports Network coming on the show sometime this week. Obviously, Jim and I are doing a lot as well, kind of just breaking down what's going on throughout the league. But yeah, man, we sit here every winter and we convince ourselves that it's going to be different. I just hope this is the winter it is. I can't go another offseason watching one of the best players in baseball become a free agent and end up going to a rival of the Chicago Cubs, end up going to the Los Angeles Dodgers, end up going to the Milwaukee Brewers, end up going to the St. Louis Cardinals or the New York Yankees or someone along those lines. It's frustrating. You know what I mean? It's frustrating. The Cubs need to be in on Juan Soto. I know they likely aren't. But that's one of the big issues of this team right now, of this organization, is when are we going to start being big money ballers again? You know what I mean? That's what we do. That is the Chicago Cubs way, is, hey, we are a franchise ready to win every single year. That's what we thought was going to happen after 2016. Obviously, 2016 was where it ended. But it's a new era, man, and you got to start acting like it. So I'm excited for it, though, man. But we'll be live again tomorrow. Appreciate everybody tuning in. Appreciate everybody being here. I'm going to end the YouTube right now, but we'll still be live on TikTok, so make sure you give us some love if you haven't already. But until then, I'll check you guys out later. Peace.
Give them a shot to do what?